Hi and welcome. My name is Tolan and I'm the co-founder of Productivity Me. In this video, we're going to discuss the idea of borders. We'll discuss how to add borders, modify borders, and remove borders, as well as the different types of borders you can have. Things like the different thicknesses, the different styles or colors of a border. So with that, let's get started. If you want to follow along, go ahead and open up exercise file 05.06, which you can find a link to in the discussion section, or rather the description section of this video. And you'll have the link to the Google Drive. Okay, so if you want to go ahead and add a border, such as we have in this example here in the quarterly sales data, how would you do that? Well, let's go to the second tab here, the second worksheet, where we have that same information, but we're missing a border. So if we wanted to add a border, you would go and have a couple ways to do that. First, you might select the cells that you want to add a border to. I'm going to do this by pressing and holding the Shift key, making my active cell here that of B2, and let's put a border around all of the individual cells here in the range of B2 to F6. Now, if you want to insert a border, there's a series of different ways that you can do that. One of the most common ways is to come to your Home tab. In the Fonts group, you'll notice there's this little section here, which if you click, it will have different types of border. So if you were to put a bottom border, a top border, left border, right border. Currently there's no border. You could say all borders. If we were to click that, you would see each of these individual cells have a border. So I won't go through all of these different ones, but you could imagine here we could have a top border. Here we might have a bottom border. They are pretty self-descriptive, right? Top border, bottom border, right border, left border. You could even say remove borders by selecting the cells that currently have borders that you don't want to then have borders, and you would go to no border. A second way to go about and add borders would be to click the font group. So you would click this little icon here, and it would bring up the font group, and then you would go to borders. And here the scenario is a little bit different. So let's say that we had a selection and we wanted to give it an outline border. We'd click that, and this cell would now have an outline border. If we had selected multiple cells, we could again click this little icon, then move over to the border tab, and we could say click in and give it cross borders or outside borders by individually clicking on these items. We could even say use one of these presets like no borders, or if we wanted outline borders, we could do that, or inside borders would look like that, where there are no outside borders. We could do something like, let's say that we don't want those borders, so we could come in here, go to the border, go to none, and hit OK. Now, if you wanted to modify cells with borders, you could go ahead and select the cells that you want to modify, launch this icon here, go to group, and then you'll notice that these borders currently have inside borders as well as outside borders. If you wanted, you could change the individual style. So you could say maybe select a thick border. Then once you've made that selection, you would have to apply that to the individual icons. So if we apply that to the outside, you'll notice that now the outside of our little table-like thing has a thicker border than the inside. If we wanted to, we could also select that and come to borders and then scroll down to the very bottom choice and go to more borders. We could change it to something like a spotted line inside. And you'll notice that once you make your selection and you then have to apply it to those individual items, you could change the color. So let's say that we want our inside border to be maybe yellow. It wouldn't be the easiest to see. So maybe we'll go something with like an orange or red. Maybe have our border inside be the spotted red. So you could do that. And you'll notice that we still have the thick outside black border, but inside we have little red dashed lines. And the way that we got there was by making our selection, either coming down here to more borders, or as an alternative, we could click this little icon here and then go to border and then make our adjustments. Now, you can also say remove individual borders or apply the borders that you want. by using these little preset icons. So let's say that we want none, and we want a thick outline border, and then maybe a thinner dotted inside border. We'd apply that, and we'd hit OK. And our table now has that set of presets. It's perhaps not the most visible icon just because of the preset that we had, but we could say adjust it by going like this, and then you'd see that new formatting. So that is how to add a border and edit a border. What if you wanted to remove a border? Again, you could select those cells. You could do that individual setting like we did here with none. I'm gonna hit Control Z to undo that removal. You could come here to the border and go to no border, or you could come here to more border and then go to none. The last thing that I want to cover here in this video is the idea of using the border drawing tools. So if you want, you have the ability to draw a border. So you can draw a border or you can draw a border grid. Let's say that we wanted to draw a border. So you would make that selection, and then you get to kind of draw the arrows that you want, and you can draw in between individual cells. But generally, I prefer to use the methods we discovered and discussed earlier. Oops. If you wanted to go ahead and erase them, you could bring the eraser and manually erase those borders. But I generally find that it's more useful to use it. Hit escape to exit out of that. To use the method of coming in here, going to the borders group, and then selecting none. Okay, so that covers borders. We looked at how to add borders, edit borders, and remove borders, as well as use things like the different thicknesses, the different styles, whether it be solid, dotted, or alternating, as well as perhaps changing the color of either the inside border or the outside border. In our next video, we're going to look at the idea of typeface, so join us for that.